So I'm going to go next. I'm going to recognize myself. And since Mr. Fortunato made this resolution, now it's part of the agenda, an action item, so I could speak about it. I think it's remarkable that you're limiting speech. You did the same thing to the people 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm not done speaking, sir. I get my 5 minutes, you get yours. I'm not going to argue with you. You limited my speech tonight, and you limited every single board member, because maybe you don't like what I have to say.
I'd like to make a motion to limit Mr. Budo's comments to agenda items.
This is an agenda item.
This is not an agenda item. It is not an agenda item. You made it an agenda item. It is not an agenda. This is not an opportunity for you to talk at length about what you want.
I'm not going to stop.
There's a motion pending now.
There is not a motion
I'll make a motion to limit your speech to agenda items.
And I'm going to make a point of order that this is an agenda item.
Does not include, we've already had public comment, we already had discussion on my motion. That was the time to make your objection to my motion. It's not now. The motion's been passed.
No,
the motion was passed. That was the time to discuss it.
The motion was passed, but you made it part of the agenda by getting us to vote about it.
The time to discuss the motion was before the motion was voted on. You are going back now and discussing the motion.
And I'm not going to follow them.
Mr. Budo, you don't know the rules. That's the problem.
Mr. Fortunato, Mr. Budo, may I clarify? Mr. Fortunato, Mr. Budo, I'm not trying to take sides here, but just like the other addendum items we had in green, this was added to the agenda and voted on, so I do think during Mr. Budo's 5 minutes, he is free to comment on it, and Mr. Fortunato, you will have a chance to respond during your 5 minutes.
I'll accept Mr. Lamb's ruling on it.
Restart the clock.
That was approximately 4 minutes when...
That's fine. I'll only take 4 minutes. So, again, this is the first board, and I've been on the board for 9 years, almost 9 years, that has actually limited the speech of board members. It's horrible. I can't believe I'm sitting on this board and I'm listening to Mr. Fortunato, and he's telling me I only could speak 5 minutes. It's absolutely insane as far as I'm concerned. But I get it. Mr. Fortunato doesn't like my point of view. He doesn't like my opinion. He does not like it. So what does he do? He bullies the 4 members from Wyckoff, bully me, and that's what you've been doing all year, Mr. Fortunato. So go ahead, continue your bully pulpit, because you're really showing the Wyckoff voters who they voted for. It's absolutely horrible.
Thank you.
I'm going to just talk briefly on the RFQs with regard to the ESIP. I had spoken to Mr. Lamb that I thought that we shouldn't move forward with this as much as I think it might be a good idea until the new superintendent comes in. So I am going to hold my vote on that, because we have a superintendent coming in November. He should be part of the process. I stated that in my meeting, and I believe with regard to other endeavors that we can't even finish, we have an RFQ open right now on searching for attorneys, and we can't even finish it because of the 4 men from Wyckoff, that I'm not going to vote yes for another RFQ. So I'm done. Okay, you can speak next, Mr. Fortunato.
Okay, so Mr. Budo, let's go into the bullying here, okay? So now we're going to play the 4 men. Okay, so point 1, Mr. Budo, okay? You're going to take up, as well as another board member who's done this surreptitiously, the 4 Wyckoff white board members, males, who are bullying the rest of the board. As far as I know, and I've known, well, I should say there are 9 members of this board. Miss LaForgia hasn't been here for the last 2 meetings, and it's interesting that she hasn't appeared since the teachers' vote of no confidence, okay? Ms. Koulikortis, I understand, is sick
is
this
that
evening.
an agenda
I should
item?
have an opportunity to speak.
Is that an agenda item?
Yes, because I'm responding to your agenda item.
No, but that's
Yes.
not an agenda
So-
item. You can't
so
speak on Ms.
I would
Ms.
suggest
LaForgia.
that you accept the vote of the majority of the board, and don't say that there's minorities who are bullying, because the only minority that's been trying to bully the board all year are you, Ms. LaForgia, and Ms. Sullivan, okay?
Again,
And
not
that
an
is the
agenda
fact,
item. You're breaking your
okay?
own rules.
So that is...
Mr.
breaking
Bruto,
your
please let
own rule.
him speak. Mr. Bruto, please.
That's not an agenda item.
Mr. Lamb, can we have a ruling on that, please?
You want to make a point of order?
No, I'd like Mr. Lamb to rule on that.
Any of the comments by the other board members are part of an agenda item that we're voted on. So the public comments, excuse me, the board member comments are on the agenda, and so whoever speaks should have the right to comment on prior comments.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. And if you don't already know my position on a lot of these things, it should be clear now to members on the left of this audience here, okay, that I do not agree with Mr. Budo, I do not agree with Ms. LaForgia on most topics, and I do not agree with Ms. Sullivan on most topics, okay? They represent an extreme right wing, as do some members of this audience, which is fine. As long
That's
as you-
not on the
as
agenda.
long
That's a
as-
personal attack.
As long as you're
Point of
respectful
order.
about
Point
it.
of order. Mr. Lamb, calling me
All right, point of order.
And I have a question, Mr. Lamb, of you, please.
Well,
No,
well,
I want to
let me-
address, he just made a statement that's absolutely, positively
Several board
false.
members have made comments and responded to each other's comments, and I think that's what Mr. Fortunato is doing. And
Calling out
Thank you,
names.
Mr.
I
Lamb.
didn't call
Mr. Lamb made a
Fortunato
ruling.
name.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb.
Well-
I have a question, Mr. Lamb.
I
You
can't
think
speak. I
it's
can't
on the
speak.
agenda that what political party or political persuasion I am? Is that on the agenda?
I didn't mention politics, Johnny.
You most certainly
I did
did.
not mention politics.
You most
I
certainly
said that
did.
I disagree with you, and I feel you're
Mr.
extreme
Budo,
right
the
wing.
best thing is let him finish his 5 minutes and,
And then, Mr. Lamb, I have a question to you. With regard to E2, and this follows up on a question in the audience, with regard to the IDA grant money, the $93,645, is that earmarked for anything specifically when we get that money?
that is, the main way that works is that we're not allowed to supplant existing programs. IDEA is for special education. We're not allowed to supplant existing programs and cut our operating budget with this money. That needs to be spent on additional special education programs or costs.
Okay, so it's specifically for special education?
IDEA is specifically for special education.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else? Okay, so we're going to go to action items. Before, move to open action items. Can I get a roll call?
Oh, I need a motion, right?
Yeah, you need a motion, so.
Motion to open up action items.
Seconded? So moved, sorry. So moved. So moved.
All right, so before I get into
Do you want me to roll call?
the action items, could Mr. Sedericato please read P17?
Okay. Move to accept the retirement with regret as approved by the interim superintendent of schools effective January 1, 2022 as follows. Whereas Linda Lucibello has dedicated herself to the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District for 19 years as a Ramapo High School security aide, displaying an unselfish commitment to our children and district, exemplifying the ideals of professionalism and the standard of excellence. And whereas the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Linda Lucibello has provided our district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and gratitude to Linda Lucibello in recognition of her exemplary service to our school district.
So on P17, could we get a roll call?
I need a motion.
Motion to approve P17.
I think we moved action items already.
Well, are we doing the whole thing? Or are we?
Oh, okay. Yeah, just motion to approve P17.
Right, so let's just do P17. So we're going to vote on that. John seconded it.
Mr. Carolyn,
Yes.
Mr. Sotodicato,
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan. Yes. Mr. Kinney,
Yes, congratulations.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Mr. Budo.
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to go to PO1.
What about the meeting minutes? Are we approving, not approving? Are we doing anything with them?
Yes, we are. In PO1, we need to untable these so that we can vote on them, because we tabled them at the last meeting.
All of them, John?
No, just 1642 and 1643.
Motion to untable, earned sick leave, 1642, family leave, 1643. Motion.
Second.
Mr. Carolyn,
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato,
Yes.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Mr. Kinney,
Yes.
Mr. Sotodicato,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan. Yes. Mr. Budo.
Yes. Okay, so PO3, which is the regulation guides for the district policies on 1642, those regulations were never given to the board, so we're going to table 1642.
So motion to motion to table PO3.
Correct.
Earned sick leave, 1642.
That's the regulation, not the
Regulation.
policy.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
So it's just 1642, it's not the medical cannabis, so just,
It's the regulation part, right?
correct.
Yes. Okay. That's first by me, seconded by Kenny.
Mr. Carolyn,
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato,
Yes.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Mr. Kinney,
Yes.
Mr. Sotodicato,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan. Yes. Mr. Budo.
Yes. Okay. Now we're going to go to the minutes. So we're going to move to approve the closed session minutes of June 7th, June 14th, June 28th, June 26th,
July 26th.
26.
I'm sorry, July 26th, and move to approve the regular public meeting of July 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carolyn,
Yes.
Mr. Sotodicato,
Yes.
Mr. Fortunato,
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan. Yes. Mr. Kinney,
Yes.
Ms. King,
I vote no for June 28th and yes to everything else.
Mr. Budo.
Yes. Okay, so next we're going to approve P1 to P16 and P18. So we already approved P17. E1 to E12. OP1 to OP3. F1 to F10. And PO1 to PO4 with the adjustments made.
Mr. Budo, may I just explain one thing about OP1 before we have a motion in a second?
Anyone, any objection?
No objection.
That is a motion to go out for RFP for the ESIP, OP1. Even if we approve this tonight, a part of the process, we would have to leave the advertisement open for several weeks, have a pre-conference meeting with any interested bidders, have mandatory walkthroughs from any interested bidders, then provide a week of question and answers for them to ask questions and receive answers, then give them a couple more weeks to work on their proposal before we open it. So even if you approve it tonight, we would not even receive the proposals until after Dr. Dionisio begins working in our district. So he would be our superintendent of schools by the time we evaluate these proposals. So we're trying to plan ahead so that when he gets here, we can begin the evaluation process quickly.